and welcome to A Dose of Wellbeing, the Pharmacist Support podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Cochran, Wellbeing and Development Manager at Pharmacist Support, the profession's independent charity. We're delighted to bring you inspiring stories, tips, and expert insights that can help enhance your well-being and make a positive impact in your professional life. This podcast is all about supporting you, our pharmacy family, as you navigate the challenges of the profession. Today, we're speaking to Lisa Simpson, the only responsible pharmacist on the Isle of Islay in the Scottish Inner Hebrides. We first met Lisa when she shared her story for our Act Now Wellbeing campaign. It's an inspiring story of how she decided to make a change when finding that her life as a pharmacist and superintendent at a small chain in Northeast England was no longer serving her in living the life she wanted to lead. She decided to become a pharmacy owner and now lives on the beautiful and remote Isle of Islay, surrounded by beautiful scenery, breathtaking views, unique wildlife, and some of the best whiskey in the world. Lisa is a great example of how making a decision that life is too short to waste can lead to making major changes to improve your life. We hope you enjoy today's conversation. So, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
I think that your story is going to resonate with a lot of people who may be feeling like their life just isn't quite right the way it is. And that's different for everyone, but for some people, it can be just a little niggle that there's some way they're not quite fulfilled. For other people, they may have a sense of exhaustion or a feeling that there's something more that they need from life. Can you tell us a little bit about what your life was like before you made the move and what made you feel you needed to make a change?
If anybody had said that 5 years ago that this is where I would end up owning a pharmacy, I would have just laughed and went, no, that's not for me. No. Why? Where? Get me a map. Prior to COVID, I was quite happy. I was superintendent of a small chain in my hometown, got to walk to work. Had a great team of dispensers under me. I was a branch manager as well as superintendent. And then COVID hit. And it was just 18 months of just constant crisis to crisis. What's the latest guidelines? What can we do? What can we do? All while trying to get the prescriptions out, trying to keep everybody safe. And it was just a case of, 5.5-day weeks, late nights. And by the time COVID finished, I was a lot heavier. And I was just absolutely exhausted. And I used to be a member of the LPC, so I still keep up to date. I could see what was coming down the line with the contract or lack of contract. Obviously, once COVID was over, we're going to be starting to focus on services again, making sure that we get up to that level, Pharmacy First coming. And we had done Pharmacy First, or our version locally, a bit prior to COVID, and it's a great scheme, but it does take time. And time is one of the most precious commodities in a pharmacy. And really good staff, which post-COVID were hard to keep hold of because, there was quite a lot of, abuse thrown their way, and it was quite a stressful time for everybody. So I was just seeing problems instead of thinking, we can help, we can do this, we can do that, which is where I'd always felt in the past, yes, that'd be great. Yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do this. Now it was just really, I've got to write SOPs, there's going to be more. What have things go wrong and everything? I just felt as though I had all of the responsibility, but no real power in my day-to-day life. And it just can't go on. You have to sort of step back and think, can I do this? For the next 10 years, I couldn't see a way of doing it. And I've been a pharmacist since 1994. So I've seen how it's changed over the years. And I wasn't even sure if I wanted to stay in the job.
Yeah.
And then, we had to make a decision. We had to make a change. Otherwise, as I say, something was going to pop and it was probably going to be me.
Yeah. That's really poignant to hear. And I think it will resonate with a lot of pharmacists having been through COVID. And I found it really fascinating when we were chatting a little bit before the show, and you mentioned that you had never been to the Isle of Islay before you bought the pharmacy there. So, what led you to feel that that was the right place for you and sort of put you on that path?
We'd been looking for a pharmacy that was within our price range. I'd done a few locums in Scotland, and I knew that the Scottish contract was slightly better than the English one. And as I say, we were looking around. We did look somewhere else. That didn't go to plan. And as part of that, somebody who I used to work for years ago put me in touch with somebody who said, "Oh, you've taken a buying. Well, my friend's got a pharmacy on Islay." And we were like, "Oh." And that's how we came to Islay. We basically Googled everything we need to know about Islay. My husband loves his whiskey, so he was like, "Ooh, Lagavulin." But it was a case of we looked at the island as a whole, the population, the transport links, and it fit the bill. And sometimes you've just got to take a risk. I mean, if you don't jump, it could be in the biggest mistake we've ever made. I mean, we got here, with whatever we could pack into the car, and it was raining and cold, Scotland.
Yeah.
But the place, it's called Islay, is known as being very friendly. Everyone kept saying to me, "You'll learn the Islay way." And the Islay way is things can wait. Yeah. There's nobody standing over you going, wrapping their fingernails on the counter and, what's taking so long? Why hasn't you've had my prescription? The doctor pressed a button. Why don't I have it? It's like, oh, I can come back. And it's like, it's only amoxicillin. It'll take us like 2 seconds. But it's such a different, way of life. And as soon as we got here and started looking around and meeting people, it's really weird. People say hello to each other on a morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
My mother came to visit and found it incredibly strange. She started doing it when she got back home. And people said we have no strange looks.
Yeah.
And there's the Islay wave. When you pass somebody in the car, you've got to wave your hand.
Yeah.
They even teach it on the driving.
Wow.
Yeah. And as I say, it fit the bill. And as it turned out, it was the best move we ever made.
That's brilliant.
But you have to take that risk.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's wonderful. And I think when you talk about deciding to take a risk and make a change, sometimes in life we can feel a little nudge or have an internal sense of what's right for us if we're quiet enough to listen. And I think sometimes we get so busy, we're not really listening to those little signals that are trying to tell us what we need to do. I wonder if you experienced anything like that helped you or helped you to move in this direction.
Yeah, it was just one night and I was just literally completely shattered, looking forward to another night of basically falling asleep on the couch halfway through whatever we were watching. And I just can't. I just physically can't. I don't get up in the morning and think, okay. I get in the morning thinking, oh my God, what's the day going to bring? What problems is it going to be? Yeah. What am I going to have to solve in addition to having to do everything else? Because as pharmacists, that's the thing. We're not just the pharmacist. We're everything else in between. Yeah. You're the computer technician, you're the till fixer, everything, and then when you're a superintendent, things happen in other branches, deliveries go missing. It's a wall of pressure, and our minds are constantly diverting from one different thing to another. Right, I've got that check. The methadone needs to do it. Right, somebody's in for this. And you just have to. I just thought that night I just can't go on. And I said to my husband, we'd kind of been kicking it around for a couple of months, and I woke up the next morning. I just went, we're putting the house on the market, and he went, okay, all right, that's fine. I said, if we don't do it now, I'm looking at 50. When am I going to make this move? Yeah. Am I going to walk away and become a locum? I've done that before. It's great, but I kind of still like the idea of what I'd always done, which is build something. I love building relationships with the customers. I love that part of it, and them knowing that they can always come and see me. Nothing's too trivial, You just have a look at this. No, we need to go to the hospital now. No, that needs sorting. And I love that kind of building relationships. And I just couldn't see the time to build those relationships. We all talk about, being more patient facing, not hiding in the dispensary like you used to do and just, scurry the stuff out and, the prescriptions. But in those days, you actually had time to talk to people because there was, time to put the kettle on, have a coffee, go and see if Mrs. Such and Such is okay. Whereas now there's download after download after download, and then the services on top. It's great, but it can sometimes feel overwhelming and getting to that point of, you're trying, and pharmacists, most of us are control freaks. We have to be, because obviously it's such a, a responsible job. But sometimes it can be detrimental to our health that we think, oh my God, what did I do? Wait. So there just comes a time where you've just got to listen to your body, which is basically saying, no, we need to talk. You just can't go on like this.
And that's brilliant. So that night you got the message loud and clear and you took action straight away.
Put that on the market.
Yeah. It's fascinating. And I think some people would experience a lot of fears around making a big change, such as becoming a pharmacy owner, moving to somewhere entirely new. What do you think gave you the courage to do something that big?
Owning the pharmacy. I've been a manager for a lot of years. I've been second pharmacist. I knew I could do it. But did I want to actually have that bank loan hanging over my head? It was a case of, I just have to do something. I know I can build a business because I've done it for other people. How about now I do it for me? Where I can set the boundaries, where I can set, right, do you want to do this? Do you want to do, do you want to do that? Do you, give myself the choice and the freedom to say, well, actually, no, I don't want to do that, but I do want to do this. And you've just got to take that plunge. And friends had reminded me that I did it nearly 20 years earlier. I got a job in rural Canada. I was managing, shot my first managed job, and I just thought, ooh, this job came up, and I took a punt. And to this day, I don't think I've got relatives who can believe that I just trundled off to remote rural Canada on my own, and requalified just to see a different side. It's come in handy now when I get American Canadians in, because I can actually understand what Advil is and when they ask me for acetaminophen.
Right. So you had a bit of that adventurous spirit already. Yeah. And what have been some of the biggest challenges you faced in making the move?
Well, we'd made the decision and we got the house all on the market, and then Liz Truss happened. And interest rates started climbing, and, you start to think, okay, am I really going to do this at this time? Am I really going to, risk everything when I can just house is nearly paid for, and I'm doing quite well with locums. I had people who knew me who were like, oh, well, if you're doing locums now, you can do this, this, and this. And it was a case of, we are going. A former boss of mine pointed out that he bought his first businesses in the 80s when interest rates were double what that was. And he says, sometimes you just have to, you just need to make the move at the time and just, knuckle down. So, but I would say that basically the hardest thing is not making the decision. It's waiting for the banks to make the decision. Because since COVID, and I've talked to other people who are buying at the same time as us, basically they have their own pace. You can't get a hold of anybody, and you're just basically subject to waiting for them to send the final documents off so that you can get it sorted. So that was possibly the biggest thing. The decision's the easy part. It's what comes after the decision and holding your nerve. As I say, there was times, as interest rates were creeping up, and I'm thinking, oh, dear God, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But, and now they're starting to come back down again. So
Yeah.
You know, if you wait for the right moment, it's never going to be the right moment. Nothing's ever going to be perfect.
That's really, really good advice. And I wonder what kept you going when things got tough.
Each other. We've been married for nearly
Yeah.
22 years. We've known each other since we were kids.
Yeah.
But each other. And, as my mother always reminds me, if something's meant to happen, it's meant to happen.
Yeah.
And it just feels that way with this place. We are where we're meant to be. And everything did
Yeah.
work out. And, it's perfect.
That's fantastic. What have you learned about yourself going through this journey?
That I can slow down. A couple of my former staff and now friends were because said, can you really just have be just doing like a couple of thousand, tidying over, because you're always on the go. You have, and I was like, yeah, I can. And I'm more resilient than I thought I was.
Yeah.
Even when it was a case of, oh God, they still haven't signed things off yet. Oh God, not another month. But it was a case of, yeah, we can do this, right? There's always a way out. You have the gnashing of teeth, the wailing, the throwing things at the wall, get that out of your system. Then you sit back down and go, right, okay, what's the plan?
Yeah.
What's the plan? I'm a pharmacist. I can always locum. While we're waiting for this to happen, I can always locum. All I've got to do is put a few little things. There's always, even more so now because we've got loads of locum groups and everything like that, which I'm actually still a part of because I actually enjoy the to and fro and the questions I get asked because I can still help and actually have time to answer now.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I think you've touched on something that is interesting, which is that you have been able to slow down. And that's really hard for people, especially if they've been going for a long time. It becomes your habit. And it's really hard because when things do slow down, you feel like you should be doing something. And so you find something to do. So it can be really hard to slow down. And I just wonder if you follow any routines or practices that help you to sort of maintain that pace, to maintain your mental and your physical health. And if it's been easier to do that on the Isle of Islay than it was before.
I mean, prior to COVID, I would run, I would hit the gym. I mean, I was actually quite fit, I was going into my 50s looking, and then next thing you know, I'm a good few stone overweight and just got no energy. But being here, because I can control my workflow, I was like, well, everything's pretty much done, right? So, I can have 5 minutes. I can actually even do CPD at work. Ooh, which helps.
Yes.
But also because Islay is such a beautiful place. We go for walks, even if the weather's not too great. There's the Whiskey Walk, the 3 Distilleries pathway, which goes from Ardbeg to Lagavulin to Laforig and then into Port Ellen, and you can walk back again. Beautiful walk. You can see deer. Sometimes there's little porpoises in off the coast. You can see some seals. But then there's some fantastic beaches, which literally we can be the only person on a massive, beautiful sandy beach. Apart from the Canadian geese, which are incredibly noisy. But there's always somewhere to go and just get out and just take a breath. We're great at telling people what to do for their mental health.
Yeah.
It's one of the things we're good at. We're good at telling people how to do stuff. We're really bad sometimes at following our own advice, which is, get out, go. You don't have to go running. I'm trying to build back up to that. But basically, you can just go out for a lovely walk. Just get out there into the fresh air, the scene. It's amazing what it can do for you. And because we're closed half day on a Tuesday, half day on a Saturday, we can stay open late sometimes when the tourists are in, but we can just have that time just to relax, go for a walk, or just chill. It's allowed me more control over my life. And as I say, if we want to stay open or open on a bank holiday for a couple of hours because, we've got a load of tourists in, and you'd be surprised how many people forget their medication. We got that option. There's nobody telling me I have to open.
Yeah.
It's me going, hey, we can do a couple of hours on Monday and then we can go for a walk.
Sounds ideal. Sounds like you've really found a way of making it work for you. It's really fantastic. And so you've touched on a few things there, but are there any aspects of island life that you find the most beneficial for your well-being?
It's the whole vibe of the island is the Isle of Islay, which is just like the ferries may not turn up. Yeah. Your medication didn't come in because it's still in Glasgow or Craig where the ferry comes on. And people are like, oh, that's okay. I'll be fine. Yeah. And that's the pervasive, sort of like mentality of the island is it's island life.
Yeah.
Things don't come when they're supposed to. There's no point in getting all shouty, angry, and, it's just, there's no way of getting it here. So we just, and that's the whole vibe of the island. And it's kind of hard to kind of get used to because people expect it to be in like same day, they'll be in before even the van's pulled up going, but you said it would be here. Whereas here it's like, oh yeah, I'll just pop back whenever.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. It's as I say, it's the island. It's just everything's sort of like, it'll come. It'll be there.
Yeah, that sounds really wonderful. And you've just made me think about how, here in England, we're used to Amazon Prime. Everything comes next day. It's very, very quick.
Everything.
So it makes you expect that. Whereas it sounds there like people are just a little bit more easygoing. They don't expect things straight away.
It's so weird because I say the number of times I've had people, basically standing glaring at you because the doctor's pressed the button and sent the prescription through. And why don't they have it now? And it's like, well, actually, she hasn't sent it. I've got a phone because she's forgot to press send. But, they expect that you will have it or you will deliver it. Yeah, they seem really, really surprised when we pop round on what one of the things we've started to do is go for a walk every night after work, cash up. We'll go for a little tootle around the town, a couple of laps, everybody sees we always get waved at. And people get surprised when we turn up at the doorstep and go, oh, this came down for you today, so we just thought we were passing, so we'll just drop it off. And they're completely amazed, that we would deliver it. And it's like, well, we're on the way.
Yeah.
We have to come past you. It's no, oh, but this is great. And I was like, okay, nobody's screaming at me saying, I have to have this today. The doctor says I must start it straight away. But it's not that. That's not the prevalent attitude. As I say, everybody says good morning.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, sounds really, really much more fulfilling for you. And so looking back, if you were to do it all again, is there anything that you would have done differently?
There's things we would like to things to have gone quicker. We'd like to have ended up here quicker. However, things play out the way they're meant to play out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't appreciate something if it just happens.
Yeah, yeah.
What happened we're here, and that's the most important thing. And at this moment in time, I've got a couple of my friends who basically accused me of living the dream because we are. It's been a year. It's great. Things are going well, and we're hoping that in the next couple of years that we can actually build a house because there's plenty of land, and actually not have any neighbours for the first time ever, and just be able to build a house that nobody's touched, nobody's put things in wrong places, and we've got friends who say I'll never get rid of them once they've got somewhere to live, stay. We'll have to come to some sort of arrangement, I've got a couple, obviously, people who are dispensers, and I basically said, come up, you work for a couple of hours, and then I'll let you go play whiskey. Come back. But that's what we're after. We want, this is going to be our forever.
Yeah.
And we're just lucky that, both our parents have been up. My mum, Simon's mum and dad have both come up. And they were just overwhelmed with how many people had said to them, oh, you're Lisa and Simon's mum. Oh, Lisa and Simon's mum. Oh, that's great. It's lovely to have them here on the island. And they were like, oh, okay. Yeah. And they absolutely loved it. They absolutely
Oh,
loved it. And my mother doesn't drink,
yeah,
but she
yeah.
loves the history of the place. And she just found it amazing. And they were so glad to know that we were happy and that the community had accepted us.
Sounds really idyllic.
And
Yeah,
also comes with whiskey, lots of
yeah.
whiskey.
And so, um, if you encountered a pharmacist who was
Mm.
feeling maybe the way that you were before you
Yeah.
moved, or who just feels that there's something they need to change in their life, something isn't right, what advice would you give to someone else in
You
that
need to just
situation?
remember at the end of the day, you are the only person that can control your own destiny. You're replaceable. Okay? You get overstressed, have a breakdown, you will be replaced at the end of the day. So you have to do what is best for you, whether it is taking a step back, whether it's locuming, whether it's, just trying something new, and out of the profession. You have to do what's best for you, your family, and your mental health, because as I say, at the end of the day, we're all replaceable.
Yeah.
So you just have. It's hard to make the decision, but once you've made the decision, you'll know, because it does feel like a weight's been lifted off you.
That is absolutely brilliant advice. And I'm sure that there will be people out there who that really hits for.
Yeah,
Um, well, it's been a really inspiring conversation about how we all have the power to change our lives. And I think that was
yeah,
the perfect ending, because that is really what it comes down to. So
yeah.
thank you, Lisa, so much for sharing your insights and for being a part of our podcast. We hope
Thanks
our
for having me.
listeners, yeah, thank you. We hope our listeners are feeling inspired to bring about positive changes in their own lives. So if today's podcast has resonated with you, you'll find further well-being information, videos, and online content on our website and on our well-being learning platform, which is available to pharmacists, pharmacy students, and trainees for free. You may be interested to know that we have a workshop called Live the Life You Want to Lead, which is very much about this kind of a topic. It's how to live the life that really calls to you. And you can access that for free on the Wellbeing Learning platform. For further information about our services, please click on the How We Can Help link in the podcast description. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you feel you may need support. We want to continue providing our free and confidential support services and to open up conversations like this to ensure that no one in our pharmacy family faces challenging times alone. So, as an independent charity, we rely on donations from individuals and organizations across the profession to enable us to do this. If you're in a position to do so, please consider making a donation today. You can find a QR code in the show's description or at the end of the video. Donations help us to provide our essential services, including our counseling and peer support, financial assistance, and more. So thank you again, Lisa. It's been really fantastic. And thank you so much for listening. We look forward to seeing you again at our next podcast.